Hi, everybody. Thanks for joining me again today. I am Jennifer Goldman, president of Resonance LLC, management consulting for strategic transformation. We love helping small businesses and nonprofit organizations reach higher levels of success. And today I wanted to talk a little about an interview that I had last week for a project that I was pitching. And one of the questions that was asked to me was about the outreach and gaining people's trust, and how would they know that they could trust me, that I would provide confidence for what they were telling me. How would I bring new voices and faces into their organization, into their project, into their downtown? And my response was, really, sometimes you have to just go door to door like we did in the old days before we had all of this technology. And I think they were a little surprised. They were pleased with my response. And one of the answers that one of the panelists gave was, wow, that's a really interesting response. I've never heard that before. And I was a little bit surprised. I guess I shouldn't be. But one of the things that I know I value and that I provide is, sometimes when we're looking for new voices and new faces and we want to provide outreach, we want to bring more people in, we want to be more inclusive, it really takes being personal. Just person to person, no emails, no marketing exploits, just walking up to people, introducing yourself, looking them in the eyes, shaking their hand, all the things that your mom and dad taught you, or maybe your grandparents taught you, depending on your age range. It really matters. And so I started looking up the word legwork, which I have here. So my eyes are going to shift here as I read. I wanted to say exactly where the origin of the word legwork came from, because that was exactly what came to my mind when I gave that response, and it was met with such surprise. Is sometimes you just have to do your own legwork. And so the origin of the phrase legwork, or the word legwork, it was from 1891, and it says, originally news reporter slang for an assignment that promised more walking than copy. So let me read that again. Legwork is from 1891, originally news reporter slang for an assignment that promised more walking than copy. And this was the message that I wanted to convey to the organization that I was interviewing with, is that sometimes it's not about the return. Sometimes it's about giving. And so you're going to have to do some walking and listening. It's more about the listening and what other people can gain from you in that moment. Not necessarily gain from you, but gaining your trust, knowing that they can speak to you, that you're someone who has their trust and their confidence. And this works in so many cases. And sometimes it might be your market research for a new product, service, or business, in finding out, is what you have to offer really valued? Is it sought after? Is it important? Is it wanted? Will people spend money on it? And it depends on who your market is, who you're trying to bring in. In this particular case, we were speaking more directly to marginalized communities of a downtown area. And really what I was trying to let them know is that, depending on what you consider marginalized, if we're talking about low-income housing, people who may not have access to the internet, may not have a computer at home, and you want to reach them. You want them to know that you're there. You want them to know what you have to offer. You want them to come to your area. You want them maybe to spend money or take advantage of the services that you have to offer. In those cases, when we're talking about those marginalized communities that are lower income or maybe non-English speaking, then go introduce yourself. I know it takes a lot more time than sending an email or putting out a social media post or something of that nature. But it's how you get to know people. It's how you get to know your community. And in a lot of cases, when we're doing business, it really does come down to those personal relationships. A little bit of background about me: I used to be a Main Street manager for a community organization in a small town. And when I first got there, my chairman of the board took me hand in hand down the streets and introduced me to everybody who owned a business, everybody who was influential, part of the town council, anybody that I should know in the community. And he literally took me and put me in front of them and said, Jennifer, this is so-and-so, so-and-so, this is Jennifer, and told me their background and who they were and why it was I needed to know them. But also just because they were part of the community and I needed to know them. He also, which was very valuable information, told me which people, don't even talk to her. She's too grumpy. She won't like you. She doesn't like our organization. He's not going to participate in any way, which was really valuable information for me because I'm stubborn. So those were some of the people that I knew. Okay, so when my chairman isn't around, I need to go back and I need to find out, why don't you like me? Why don't you like our organization? What is it that we're not doing for you? Or what is it that we are doing that hurts you in some way? And that is how I really gained a lot of trust in that organization and in that community, was not only talking to the people that wanted to hear from me, but by going and talking to the people who maybe didn't want to hear from me, and realizing that I really was there to listen. I really did care about what they wanted and needed, and I wasn't going to let the past stand in the way of a good relationship in the future. So when we're talking about marginalized communities and the people that you don't necessarily see or hear from, do go introduce yourself to you. You may need to figure out if it's a non-English speaking community. You may need to bring people with you who can interpret. Students might make good interpreters, and it just depends on the language, but somebody who speaks that language will also speak English and help you. But if you're going to reach those people, I suggest going personally. It's like the old campaigning, which I think is part of where we use the expression legwork. People who were campaigning for office, political office, used to go door to door, literally themselves. You would meet the candidate, because if you were in one of the places where they felt that they needed help with voters, they would go introduce themselves. And sometimes we need to do that to help bring new voices and faces into our communities, to find out what is really truly needed as far as services go, products go, things of that nature. And especially if you are running a nonprofit organization, those are the people you're going to need to talk to if they're part of your community or part of your the service area that you're providing services for. And you can have the best intentions. You might have something that is spectacular and fantastic, but if it doesn't meet the needs of all of the population, it's not going to go very far. So that is my tip for the day, is go out and do your legwork. Put the phone down, shut the computer. YouTube will wait. Go out and meet people in person, shake their hands, let them know that you're someone who can be trusted, that you'd like to gain their confidence so that you can really truly help and make a difference, and that you believe that they might be able to help make a difference with what it is you're providing as well. So thank you so much. I appreciate you joining me today. We have more on our resource hub at resonance.podia.com. And if you click on the QR code that is at the beginning of this video, which should pop up at the end too, to take you back to the beginning, that QR code will take you to our resource hub. But also, if you leave comments here, I'm happy to answer them. There's also contact information in the About Us page of the channel. Thanks again. See you soon.